Hi, I'm Chris Olson with the Shell Lake Arts Center, guitar teacher during jazz weeks there, and I'd like to discuss the requirements for auditioning once you go to the camp. Now, the reason for the audition is not to get you into the camp, you'll already be there. This will determine what band you'll be placed in and what level of improvisation you will be placed in. Back to the requirements, they're pretty simple. If you look on the website, you'll see that it says, "Be prepared to play a comping pattern for blues in B flat or F." Now, many of you know exactly what that sentence means, and if so, you can skip ahead a bit, but some people might want to know what the word comping means. Comping is short for accompany. It's also short for complement, so when you play behind a soloist, you want to play something that's appropriate for what they are playing, and accurate, of course, and that accompanies them well. Some of you might also want to know, when it says play a blues, what does that mean? Because there's lots of songs that have the word blues in the title, and there's lots of songs that are blues that don't have blues in the title. For our purposes, and the vast majority of blues tunes have 12 measures. So that's what that means. A 12-bar blues consists of 3, maybe 4 chords. We'll talk about 2 of several possibilities when it comes to different chords in the blues today. But the simplest would be this 3-chord chord progression, and I'll use bar chords that you should know as guitar players in the key of B flat. And you might wonder why F and B flat. When you're a guitar player, you're probably playing songs in the key of E and G and C and A, good guitar keys. Most jazz is written in keys that have flats in the key signature, like F, B flat, E flat, and that's because horn players write a lot of the music, and those keys work really well on their instruments. And you can ask your band teacher why that is. Here's a simple 12-bar blues in B flat. 1, 2, 3, 4. If you're comping in a big band, quarter notes like that are just fine. But what we're trying to do at this camp is learn some voicings that are a little less thick sounding than those big bar chords. So we might play thinner texture voicings, sometimes with only 3 notes, maybe only 2 notes in the voicing. Here's an example with some 4-note voicings that I'd like you to learn, and if you can learn them before camp, that's great. 1, 2, 3, 4. Another thing you can do is add some color notes to your chords to make them sound a little bit more like modern jazz, and that would involve taking your B flat 7 chord and making it a B flat 13 chord, or taking your E flat 7 and F7 chords and making them 9 chords. You don't have to know what that means right now, but those are a little bit hipper, jazzy voicings. And you might want to change the rhythm up by playing something other than quarter notes, especially if you're in a combo and you're comping behind a soloist. You might want to change to a more syncopated rhythm. The most common one that you hear in jazz is a dotted quarter eighth rhythm. Could sound like this, etc. And if I add those extra notes, making it a B flat 13 and an E flat 9, and then I'm going to do one more thing. The last line of the blues, in a traditional blues, has the F chord to the E flat chord to the B flat. The 5th note of the major scale, the 4th note of the major scale, and the 1st note of the major scale, the chords that are built on each of those 3 spots. But in a jazz blues, more commonly the last line has a chord built on 2, 5, and 1, the 2nd note of the major scale. So C minor 7. So I'm going to play C minor to F7 at the end. You'll see the progression. I'll use the 13 and the 9 chords for a little bit of a hipper modern blues sound. 1, 2, 3, 4. And you can mix up the rhythm a little bit like that. Now, if you look at the rest of your requirements, it says if you know a blues melody in one of these keys, i.e. tenor madness. Well, tenor madness is a challenging melody if played at a fast tempo. I'm going to use a play-along recording that is made by a gentleman named Jamie Aebersold, and he makes many play-along recordings. He hires live musicians to do them, and he records different play-along volumes. There's hundreds of them at this point. But here's a play-along recording of Tenor Madness, and you can hear how challenging it is.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
So, good luck, right? However, there's another program out there called iReal Pro where you can make your own backing tracks very simply. Of course, as guitar players, you could just record yourself playing the chords at whatever tempo you want, play along with that. Also, in your audition, you don't need to play with a play along because I'll be there, so I can play chords behind you and maybe you can play chords behind me to show me how you can accompany. So it's not necessary, but in order to practice, it might be a good idea to check out this iReal Pro app. Then you can set the tempo as slow as you want. I'll do kind of a medium tempo here and play it one more time. So that's a more reasonable tempo, but you could do it even slower than that if you want to. And you don't have to play that tune. Another song, another melody written by Sonny Rollins is called Sunny Moon for Two, and it's just a pentatonic scale, 5-note scale played 3 times. Play a simplified version of it now. Scale 3 times in a row. This also could be played in any key. You can play any song in any key, any tune in any key, any composition. But with the iReal Pro app, you can change keys easily, as well as changing tempos. So I'm going to do this in the key of F, and I'm going to slow it down even more to about 140 now. It was at 160, and here it is in the key of F. If you have that learned, that melody, doesn't have to be in both keys, whichever key you want, that's fine. You're not required to do that. You're just required to show a comping pattern because chords are what guitar players do most of the time. But it's a good exercise to learn those melodies, and it's good to know some jazz tunes. So if you're getting together with your friends and you don't know what to play, that's a simple blues you can play and practice. And there's no substitute for playing with other live musicians, even though these play-alongs are useful. You can also play if you know a jazz standard, something you're working on. Some of you have private teachers. Some of you have the opportunity to play in combos at school. You're very fortunate, and you might learn jazz standards like Autumn Leaves or Blue Bossa or Take the A Train. There are dozens and dozens of them. You can go online and just type in list of jazz standards and it will show you usually pretty good lists of some well-known jazz standards, but they're varying degrees of difficulty and they're almost all more difficult than a blues. So it all depends on what you can handle, but if you have a jazz standard prepared, I'd be happy to accompany you and have you accompany me, and we play a little duet, could be fun, or you could bring along a play-along recording and play along with it. If you have a chord melody, that's another thing that guitar players often learn with teachers especially. I would love to hear it, and that just means having a melody. So you have a melody on top of a chord. It's a solo guitar piece. It's not something you really use in the big band camp or in the combo camp, but it's something we can study in our master classes and different solo techniques, as well as different accompanying techniques and different improvisational ideas. So I look forward to meeting you and working with you. And if you have any questions, you can contact me through the Shell Lake Arts Center. You can check out my website, chrisolsonmusic.com, and I'll have teaching materials on there and performance schedule and whatever you want to know about me. So good luck, and I hope to see you soon.